Well, yeah. Just one second, just see if I can. This. Oh, minutes. Although I don't think it's.
I weren't here, so I can't vote on them, but I can read them.
Okay, so we're gonna open the meeting at that's at 2 p.m. 6:08 p.m. Thank you. Okay. And I believe we are all present tonight. Yeah, that's great. So the first thing on the agenda is just to talk again about the pay as you throw, is that right? And then is somebody coming in to talk to us about clean water tonight?
No, the
Okay.
one from the clean audit, water is not available.
Okay, that's fine. I think we have enough with the pay as you throw. So I hope you'll excuse how horrible this looks right now, because formatting wise, this is just like yeah, it's a stream of consciousness, and we looked at it once before, and then I started to organize it into categories of the contract, and I think right now it's time to start chopping it up and deleting what we don't like, changing what we about. Okay, so just an overview of it. The front side was trash collection thoughts, right? And then the next page is recycling thoughts and ideas. Then item 3 was curbside pickup. Item 4 was composting service, and item 5 was composting. Right, so we're kind of put it in these categories so that we could list our concerns, our thoughts, and see if we've reached any decision on any of these items. Because that's sort of why we're together. We're not gonna go, we're not the ones going out to bed. We're not gonna sign them. We are the ones charged with looking at all the available data, thinking of all the considerations that we should think about, and then ultimately whittling it down, okay, to what we think our recommendation will be. Okay, and I think I've got that right. That's our charge. Okay, so pay as you throw. I just had a blank page here under trash because I spent so much time, I think, putting down other things. So I listed kind of what I thought I remember from our last meeting, that the cost of the bags would be somewhat based on the cost per ton of trash, so it would track the tonnage rate.
Is that right? Did we talk about
I thought that's where we were headed.
based on the ton of trash?
Well, how else do you come up with a price per bag? Probably grab a number out of the air. I thought we have to tie it to something. The trash tonnage,
Okay,
and matter how much a bag of that, holds, right? If we take the tonnage that we're now throwing out and divide it into these bags, how much should the bags cost if they are to pay that tonnage cost? Right? If they were, I'm just saying an if.
okay. I just don't remember that being a concept that we talked about last month
Okay.
with the.
I don't think it was, I wasn't involved in that conversation, I don't, but I don't.
Per
think
unit,
it was.
that's the second item, the per unit pricing, that's what I
Right.
asked him to do,
Mhm.
Brian. To come up, I said, can you look at our tonnage, and can you come up with a unit cost basis for these bags?
The TA, the technical assistance. Yeah.
How else are we gonna price them?
So it's- has-
And see what everyone else is charging?
I remember them saying though that it'd be probably within a window.
Well, yes, yeah. I
Like it
mean-
wasn't gonna ever be $10.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
no.
So it would be within a reason.
3 to 5, or $2 to $5 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
Right. And then I was trying to, again, I did this very fast, so we might add more to this or take this or edit this a little bit.
No,
'Cause
this is
was
amazing.
this is the last stream of thought I threw on there. The no double billing and unit pricing. So I was trying to express what Brian was explaining to us, that you will only pay for what you throw out. There's no double billing going on. The tax rate isn't paying it and you're paying. You're paying.
Mhm.
And it's unit pricing. You're paying for your units, You're paying for your units, I'm paying for my units.
Mhm.
I kind of like that terming as unit pricing.
Yeah, I think I put it in the minutes.
Good.
Unit-based transaction similar to utility.
Oh, that's a good thought, yeah, so anything you want, because I think when we start to finalize this, we have to know what we're doing and why. Where's this coming from? What's it based on? And this is where the C gets to you, what you tell us we're gonna do with the money. Whether it's enterprise or revolving or something else. But the idea would be that that money would be used towards the contract,
Mhm.
right? So, yeah, so we'd be able to use this money.
But it
to-
wouldn't necessarily cover them.
No, the
Right,
curbside
exactly.
pickup.
That's, I just want to make sure
right.
that's clear,
Right,
because the
yeah,
people sometimes would interpret if it's still in the taxes, that
Right.
and they're paying, pay as you throw, that they are being doubled.
correct. I would think the same thing.
So
And
that's why
that's-
we have to be careful of how.
Well, put it this way, we cannot overpay our trash contract. We're not allowed to do that. So you can't take all the recycling money and then all the money appropriated and give it away. So if there was money that was left over in the first year in the trash contract, it would just flow back into free cash.
Mhm.
We wouldn't use it, and double pay our company. We can't do that. We're not allowed to,
Right, right.
right?
This, the
So ultimately.
wording, I know, no matter what wording you use.
Right,
Okay,
well, I
please.
stayed away from something like lower the tax rate, because a lot of people perceive that to be, okay, we're gonna go vote and lower our tax rate.
Right.
And that's not what this is about. I put down that revolving account will maintain the funds from the sale of the bags and will be used to lower the cost of trash collection within the town budget, thus helping to avoid costly overrides. Does that make sense?
Use the word offset
Where?
Yeah.
instead of lower.
That's actually what the actual word that they used, last month, which was fixed fee plus disposable based on consumer offset by pay as you throw is exactly the word they used. Offset.
Not gonna lower,
capitalized.
So.
not gonna lower anything.
They're
So
offsetting,
Offset.
yes.
will be
Bill.
used to offset. Gotcha.
And I also capitalized not a moneymaker. Because we're not gonna be making money on it.
No,
Okay, so where do you want to put that?
It's a
where it
fixed,
says lower. Used to lower the cost.
To offset the cost. of
yes,
trash
Yeah.
collection,
exactly.
Thus helping to avoid costly overrides. We can't, overrides are not totally within the control of
Right.
trash.
Right.
I want to be careful to say what we say. Okay. And then this could actually go to the carts. I think I have a cart section, so let's check out the sections. No, I don't. So the 34-gallon cart, is that what we're gonna go for? We kind of came, we've been all over 96, 64, and I thought
Well, and a recycling cart.
right, but we're talking about the trash cart. I
Okay.
thought we decided 34.
I thought that they said anything bigger than that, you lose some of your incentives for
Right.
like
Correct.
grants and
Okay,
So I think some of that is what.
okay, so you'll be on okay, so we'll just go for that. Okay, and then this is just a future thought. When other towns do allow people to purchase additional carts. So some towns charge you an annual fee for that additional cart. Since we're already charging for the bags, I thought we would just charge them a price to buy the cart.
Yes. Yes, because there are people who like have their business out of their home or whatever and might need an extra cart, so.
Okay, do we want to put a limit on how many carts somebody could have at their home, in their home business? I mean,
Right now, what's the policy? There's
Two
232s
yeah,
per household.
correct, so we could limit it to.
So now you're saying 134,
Yes, and you can
per household.
buy
and then you'll buy additional,
one additional.
No,
You
you-
don't want to limit
you'll
it?
buy bags.
No, you could buy, if you think you have enough every week, you could buy one additional cart. And then you would just use your pay as you throw. You wouldn't have to go to the overflow bags.
Oh, so A and D are mutually exclusive. They're not.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
So it's either or.
So the one point that,
Well, no,
Could do
you
both.
use your pay as you throw bags in the extra cart. So that's what I'm saying, you just pay, you just pay us the cost of that cart. We're giving you the first cart.
Okay,
Yeah, the
yeah.
reason for the extra cart is that that's how they pick it up. And also, obviously don't want stuff getting into your trash. So even though you have to still pay for the bags, you put it in the cart so that they can automatically.
So
pick it
there's,
up.
right.
And also-
Labor.
And also there's no critters going in.
So,
So the
so
question,
one of the proposals is to go from 232s to 134.
yeah, it is to 134, yes. So should we put that at the top of the thing? Because I didn't even really list that. Or do you not want to highlight that?
Well-
Here's what I said, a slide it by them.
I mean, I think we just say like the town is providing,
Town is providing, okay, 134.
exactly.
So as part of the proposal that we received from Waste Management to try and transition to an automated system, and as we explore moving towards an automated system, some of the initial savings that we discussed could potentially go towards the purchasing of the carts. Now, the grant opportunities that they had spoken about at the last meeting were only for 35-gallon carts. So they would provide a certain amount of money to purchase those carts.
Is it 35 or 34?
It's 35.
We keep changing the number. Okay, now I'm changing me to 35.
So that being the case, we need to make a determination as to whether or not we want to have 164 and 164 or 164 and 135 with the ability to purchase an additional barrel, because what's going to happen, and no matter what contract we get, is that the additional barrel is going to cost money.
Correct.
So you can do what you said, you can purchase the barrel or make a monthly fee or however you break it down, so it gets back into the revolving fund so that you can essentially pay for that additional.
Right. And so what I thought Brian had said at our last meeting was that if we move above the 35 gallon, we'll cut ourselves off from other.
You won't be able to
Right.
claim certain points like our new RDP points. You can only claim like a certain amount of points if you have a 35 gallon. But you're only talking about 1 point on an RDP grant where we're only getting about $2,000 a year. So you're talking more so about an operational decision. Do you want to manage 2 carts, or do you just want to limit everyone to 164?
Well,
I think,
$2,000 and a $23 million budget is pocket change.
yes, but if the goal is to decrease and mitigate and divert things from trash, then I think David's original point that we keep going back to is making the recycling barrel big and the trash barrel small.
yeah,
And people can buy an extra cart. And what Brian and Ron said is that once you start educating the public, then you will find that the trash amount
Right.
goes down over time.
People will accommodate, they'll acclimate to the 35 gallon. Because that, I think, from everything that's been said so far, from the way everything is heading, cost wise, incentive wise, the push is not to give people this big of a trash can. Even this big a trash can, this big of a.
Because our goal is to
Right.
divert.
Yeah, we go, and I think that part of this process outside of it is the town maybe providing more, book drop and whatever else we can get in town. For people to throw crap in that they don't need to put in their trash anymore, do it, but Sue,
The buffet plate theory.
Mhm.
No, at the buffet, they don't give you a plate this big.
okay, but do we feel, I mean, we're not gonna vote, but do we feel right now about the 35 gallon cart, that would be what we're leaning towards, if we're gonna provide carts for trash, I'm just talking trash.
Yes. I'm a yes person on that.
Well, I think from their point of view too, bags, that's their labor cost. Somebody's got to get out of the truck, pick up the bag.
Right, well, the overflow,
They
right,
stay with the barrel, the cart. It picks it up automatically,
right,
dumps
well,
it right, so.
you can't put out bags, you're gonna have to put out cart.
But you can
That was gonna be my question.
buy
So is it
overflow
gonna be-
bags.
The overflow
You-
bags get placed on top of the cart.
So
They won't be able to lift the cart if they're on top of the cart.
Everything has.
So if it's an overflow bag, they have to get out of the truck to pick it up. So that goes back to Rebecca's point. Does it make more sense to go to a 64-gallon cart? Because you can fit more bags into the cart. And not have that, and then you reduce the amount of labor. And now you're talking about potentially a better contract regardless of who you go with.
Why?
And it's
why is
it's a
it
valid
better?
point.
It's clean, we better like, everything's in the car.
Everything's in the cart. The driver is not getting out.
less labor on the driver to pick up the bags. He doesn't have to.
Okay, so
Workers'
we're
comp
gonna-
insurance.
So.
Driver.
But you're plenty of people making more trash.
But they still have to pay for it.
You're not,
They're doing.
you're still giving them the recycling card as well. So they're gonna recycle. They may not put as much trash in. I have a 30-gallon or 32-gallon barrel and I have two of those little bins. My barrel is never full. I have
Right.
2 bags
That's the goal.
and my bins are flying all over the
The
neighborhood.
point they're making is that one of two things is gonna happen. We're gonna have, well, no, like 3 things, but people will be opposed to this because right now they have 2 32-gallon trash cans, and now we're asking to buy the bags. If we at least don't change that and we ask them to buy the bags, it's not as tough a push. Because we're talking about unit pricing. You don't fill that the 64-gallon thing, then you don't have to pay for 64 gallons of trash anymore. Right now, we're all paying for the 64 gallons of trash, whether you throw it out or not. That's the tax rate.
But I think it's what the mandate on the bins are. If it's the driver will only pick up what's in the bins, then now it matters how big your bin is. If you're paying for the bags, but you can throw the bags in the curb around the
Right.
barrel, then it definitely doesn't matter,
They-
it doesn't matter.
they-
But now your labor goes up
Right.
because the trash
Right,
company.
there's always gonna be an allowance for an overflow bag. There's always gonna be some times when the driver's gonna have to get up and get the bag.
Mhm.
But we're trying to minimize that. We don't want.
But if you go with the bigger cart, the odds of having to get out are gonna be slim.
Slums.
It'll decrease the odds that somebody will need additional bags
So
after
we-
the
It
60.
may happen occasionally. I can tell you from experience
Don't
that,
feel like-
Christmas, birthdays.
exactly.
The reason for bringing it forward is I think it's something you should consider. I'm not supporting one way or the other, but I think it's something that the committee should take a look at, just based on what we're doing, which is waste reduction as well as implementation
Okay.
and financial.
So do we need to do a formalized pro and con list, or do we kind of understand the pros and cons here? I mean, I think I do.
Yeah, I'm just
Much
worried
as-
that if we, you know, the larger barrel just gives people the assumption that they can throw out as much trash as they want to, because that's a lot of trash.
But.
Well, they're throwing it out now, though.
Yeah,
we
But
haven't
our goal is
increased.
To help them to decrease it, and if you give them just as big a barrel, then they never will.
well, except
That's-
now they're gonna.
You're not- we're not giving them a bigger barrel.
They are.
Two
Huge barrel.
32s equal 164.
I don't,
So it's not a bigger barrel. It's the same.
I don't have 232 barrels at
No,
home.
but right now we allow 2 32s.
Yes, we do.
I know,
Average barrel.
that's what we allow, but
So it's 64. So we haven't increased the amount of trash anybody's throwing out. But we're trying to decrease the labor cost on their end so we can get a better deal on the.
I totally understand. I just worry that we're not sending the message that we want to send with 2 equally sized barrels.
The average trash barrel is 32 gallons.
And I can see your point, but here's to play devil's advocate for a second, right? If we chop that in half from 2 32s to 132. And we're gonna force a lot of people to purchase extra bags. At that point, the majority of the run will be the driver will need to exit the vehicle to take care of the extra bags from the overflow because we're only giving them 32 instead of 60.
No, I understand that.
Now, they come to us and say, well, listen, you said it was gonna decrease my labor costs, it's actually increased my labor costs because he's getting out more often now than not. Also, my insurance costs have gone up because my workers' comp, because
I
they.
totally get this concept.
So it really is, it's a balancing act,
I just don't think we're sending the message that we want to send by putting out 2 equally sized barrels.
It's not as.
And it's contrary to everything that the
I don't-
DEP is telling us.
Equally sized barrels.
They're 264s. That's what they're saying,
That's what
two
we did.
sixty-four.
You're talking about a.
No, the
64
town-
Trash and a 64 for recycling, or you go with the 96
was
for
the 90
recycling.
We never changed the 96 for recycling, correct?
We still wanna go with that, I know in this one, I thought we decided people would.
I thought we decided to-
Maybe I need to ask another question.
The other thing too is you're gonna give them
Is
two
the
barrels.
mission
Sorry,
statement-
Bill. Go
Is the
ahead.
mission statement to lower the amount of trash or lower the cost of the trash collection?
Both.
Yeah.
We need
Or is
to,
it both?
because our landfills are
It's
full.
both.
Yeah, so we have the double edged.
But we're not
So
giving.
if you're gonna
people
be
two- We're
charging-
not giving people 264 gallon trash.
No, you're
Not
giving them a tote for trash and a tote
Giving
for
them
recycling.
164 for trash
Yeah.
and maybe a bigger one for recycling.
They don't look that
Correct?
much bigger. They look like they're the same size.
The
The
96
96
gallon
is
barrel is
higher.
considerably bigger than a
But
64
it's
gallon.
higher.
However, that being said,
So what I'm
If-
trying to say though is.
no, it's all right. Go ahead, finish.
No, I'm just trying to.
I just let her finish her thought.
I'm just trying to finish. Thank you. No matter, if some weeks you have a 64 gallon cart, correct, for trash. Some weeks you might only have one bag in there. Right, so it still doesn't mean you have to fill it just because you have it.
Correct.
It's just,
People
in
will.
those- it's just in those, this is what I'm hearing you say. It's just in those instances where you have a party or whatever, you still have to buy more pay-as-you-throw bags. So
Correct.
you're still paying for whatever goes in
That's
that.
right.
It just isn't gonna be sitting on the ground.
And people aren't gonna wanna pay for the
I
bag.
just wanna make.
They're gonna recycle more because they don't wanna put more in the barrel.
We're still gonna have to pay more if they put out more. Right? I like a smaller barrel too myself, but.
I think you have a
I-
bigger hurdle to get over to convince people that pay as you throw is the way to go, to be quite frank.
I think that
Oh, I
convincing
know.
people this is a utility and I shouldn't be paying for your trash is the way to go.
Maybe so.
I mean, to me, that's an
But-
easy sell. I'm tired of paying for
But
my
the-
neighbor's trash.
But in all honesty, we live in a town where there's very few services, and the one big thing that people get is curbside trash and recycling.
Uh-huh.
And when you tell them they have to pay for it now, just as you said, you're paying for it in your taxes. Now you're gonna make me pay for bags too?
Right.
They're looking at it as a double dip, and people are gonna be upset by that.
They will.
And I know exactly what you're saying, because back before we limited to two barrels,
Nothing wrong with it.
it was
Well, that's
Wild
what
Wild
they're gonna
West.
say.
right?
That's how they're gonna complain about it.
Yes.
Whether or not they actually believe that.
Oh, 100%.
Because if we tell them, no, everybody pays the base and then everybody pays for their own trash.
You can explain it to them all day long. I'm telling you, they will believe it. I've experienced it firsthand.
I'm not arguing. I'm just saying,
I know, but I'm telling you, they will believe it.
I think that all things being said, all good points, but to get too hung up on the visual of having a bigger recycling versus trash can ignores the two biggest changes that we're trying to get people to accept. One is that the curbside automated pickup is gonna lower our curbside cost by, I think it's well over $100,000, right? Am I right or wrong?
So that's what my memo has. It has the total savings
Yeah.
as proposed with the offer that we currently have
Okay.
before us.
Yes, we'll get into that, but that's where the big, when you look at the cost in our current contract, one of the biggest drivers in the last 3 years is not the trash tonnage cost going up. It's the curbside collection.
The labor cost.
Yes, the labor cost because it's manual pickup. There's stuff all over the place. They have to get out, they have to pick this up and that up. And that's also why it takes so long, all 5 days to do just a town that's 5 miles across.
true.
We might be able to go to a curbside pickup where a company can come in and do our town
In 3 days.
that, I was gonna say 3 days. Never mind. So that would be a very big bargaining chip for us, because now they can say, oh, I can do Groveland in 3 days. And I don't have to get out, they've got the right size barrel, there's not gonna be crap all over. Board of Health has told us they don't want stuff all over the place anymore. It's a health hazard. We have stuff blowing all over on windy days. Everything's everywhere. And the more loose bags we have lying around, again, the more opportunity for trash to get
And the animals to get in it.
correct, all that stuff.
But on the contract side, they're gonna say, then we won't take stuff that's not in the back.
Right.
We want to say that was what?
But
Well-
on the contract side, the provider will say, if I'm giving you this discount, I'm not taking stuff from off the street.
Some might say that, but others are taking the overflow bags.
If we,
Payroll gas overflow bags.
Right,
if we already,
but the idea is to, I'm sorry, is to minimize the amount of time you have an overflow.
Correct.
if we already have a rule that trash is supposed to be contained with the lid on, I don't know that this is gonna make a difference over your trash going around the streets.
Well,
The containers come with lids.
Exactly, and then
Not
much
all.
heavier weight, and they can't, if you close it, it's gonna stay closed. It's not like the lids you have today where you have to put it on and take it off. My lid is all over the neighborhood. I mean, it's my lid. I have to chase it down on a windy day.
Depending on what barrel you're buying at Home Depot.
Exactly,
You know?
and when the driver, I'll give you, for instance, okay, I moved into my house 19 years ago. The first week I was there, the trash truck drove up, and this was not the current provider, took the barrel, broke the handle off, threw the trash lid across the yard, dumped the trash, threw the barrel across the yard. So a brand new barrel, broken handle. The next week, they took the next barrel, broke the wheels off. So I have two barrels that are broken by the provider. They're useless to me, but I still use them because I'm not going out and buying new barrels with this conversation. I'm not gonna do it.
So they do come with lids. I mean, I have a brand new barrel I bought at Home Depot for $54. I can't find the top.
Yeah,
They're much heavier weight.
second
My,
point.
my current recycling barrel is
Two
a flip,
biggest
is a flip
changes.
top. Current
Well, I
provider
think
dropped it,
that-
broke it out.
we're cleaning up the town. It's going, people are gonna be surprised by how much nicer, believe it or not, it makes the town look during the trash collection cycle.
Much neater.
And people have also expressed a desire not to be on the Friday pickup. Because they just feel like those of them that end up on the Friday pickup, when anything goes wrong during the week, Friday gets messed up, and then they end up, yeah, they're supposed to come Saturday, but you sometimes don't, then you're into the next week. So if we can eliminate the Friday pickup date as a pick and up date completely, by going automated, I think you'll be making the Friday pickup people a little happier.
I think the other biggest change that you maybe were thinking about is the pay as you throw.
Well, of course it is. I mean, and that's, to me, that unit price, having people have to pay for it and make them think about
What they,
how much stuff are you willing to buy that produces a lot of trash?
Right.
Are you going to continue to buy all of it? Still, doesn't have to be about, because it's costly. It's very costly, but I think our biggest step is get automated, get orderly, and get the buy-in that you're not gonna pay your neighbor's electricity and you're not gonna pay for it. We all need to throw out trash, just like we all need to have our lights come on. Right?
the other thing I would say is, if you go with the 96 gallon tote for recycling, maybe you can go to every other week recycling as opposed to every week recycling. And that will reduce costs as well.
That would be a cost savings.
Because, yeah, I just got concerned about the size. So anyway, so far we have,
What do you do?
the town is providing now 35 or 64 gallon carts. So we're gonna have to make a decision point on this. But will we future vote? We have to. This is what we're charged with.
Right.
You know, our job is to bring it to the select board with what we think is the best path for the town to go on. So when we choose one or the other, we're gonna put our reasons down.
Is there cost benefit with what,
For the,
depending on size?
based upon the quotes that we received from the, company, I mean, they vary too. It's more expensive for the larger.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So it depends.
this is, maybe we should go to Rebecca's thing before too much goes by. But this is meant to be marked up, scribbled on, crossed off.
Oh,
Okay, this is.
we get to
just
mock up the seat.
stream of consciousness. This is just me going, blah, 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 you know, everything that I tried to include, anything we've spoken of, anything we considered. And if there's something that I forgot, and if you think these categories should be changed, I'm fine with that. I was just trying to organize what was going on in my head. And this was the cleanest way I could think of it.
Oh, is this, you were taking notes on this when we were talking about all of these
Yeah.
things. That's how you did this, right?
I just, yeah. I
Okay,
just went through it. I just, like I said, everything that we've ever thought about. And we've maybe changed our mind. This was an older document. I added I realized on the front, I'd never put anything down under trash. Spent so much time on recycling and
Yeah.
everything else. So I wanted to bring it in today so that we know we have to
Focus.
get this whittled down, yeah. Does that make sense to everybody that we move now? Because I believe Rebecca has some very good information, and that might help us whittle down this list. but
Right.
It's not like we go in circles here, okay? So are we ready to move on now to this document?
Yep. Yeah.
So I provided a memo for you with an analysis as to what Waste Management has come back to us with in terms of maybe potentially negotiating with the select board and opening up the current contract with Waste Management to allow for automated services. So as you'll see, some of the differences between the extension offer and the 2021 contract, you'll see that the biggest change is obviously the collection from households, which goes from $606,000 to $483,864. So you have a savings of $122,136 if you just consider moving toward the automated, which ties into everything that we just discussed and overhead costs, et cetera, which kind of leads into the other items that you'll see. And I'm gonna skip down, but you'll see the second cart rate. So that's what we were talking about. So because we're now reducing the cost of the, oh, right here, I have it.
Sorry.
So reducing the
Sorry, I
cost
didn't know
of
you
the
did.
automated, you're now able to keep the driver in the truck. So now that the driver's in the truck, he doesn't have to get out of the truck. But if you start adding additional carts, then that adds additional time. So then there's an additional charge. So instead of just your 164 gallon, if you did the 35 and 35 with the extra cart, there's going to be a $10 per household fee per month that will be associated with that. And if you take that into consideration with what we just discussed, if you were to purchase an additional 35, we could capture that cost as part of the buying of the barrel. There's also now a collection fee per bag for the overflow for the same reason that we'd also just discussed, is that the driver would need to get out of the truck and that adds to their overhead. I did consult with some of the other communities and with the Northeast Best Management Practice group that I'm working with. And they said that that is something that they're seeing in all contracts now that are automated, is that they are making charges for people to get out of the truck. So that's not out of the ordinary. And then the other fee that you'll see, that they're gonna keep the tipping fee the same. So in our FY 27 contract, we're looking at a $103 per ton tipping fee. So they would keep that as it is. And then what they call their single stream processing fee would be $133.60 per ton. And that can be coordinated to the company fee that we see in our current contract, which if you do the escalation cost with the 3% after each individual fiscal year is the same amount that we would have as part of our current contract. So there's no change there per se. But if you're looking at the savings and what we could potentially invest in getting the carts with that amount of savings and what we would have to put up from a town perspective, it could be a unique opportunity for the town to get the barrels without having to try and, add a little bit of cash, maybe get a grant, but only for 35. And how much are we gonna get? We can do one full swoop and get the barrels as needed, get the delivery, do a smooth, seamless transition and rollout. So we don't have to worry about that, because obviously the company would need to deliver the barrels to each individual household. They have to do the hot stamping. So we talked about like the neat aspect of things, like all of them will have the town of Groveland seal. They'll all be delivered to the houses. They all have the code. So doing that collectively, both trash and recycling together would be a lot easier than, we don't have enough money to do trash right now. So we're gonna have to get a grant, try and do 35, can't move to automated yet. We still can't afford those barrels, and then have to figure out the recycling. So it could be something that we could consider in terms of the savings from switching. They also included some other proposals as part of that. They would like us to extend the contract, obviously. I think that, obviously it wouldn't be a bad thing to extend it to some extent, but I think we could negotiate in the sense that you could say, well, we are in the last year of our contract. So you want a 3-year extension, we'll give you a 3-year extension, but understand you were already locked in for that year. So you're really only giving them a 2-year extension, because we have to eat that year, whatever. Additionally, we could make liquidated damages claims, because that was one of the big things that the Board of Health and David brought up, is that, we're not getting responsive in terms of missed pickups or, bulky waste. We can add those liquidated damages to the contract extension without it being a monetary hit to them. And therefore we get the security that we need to make sure that the services are being provided, while also knowing that if they fail to provide those services, now we can collect monetary damages. So another thing that we could actually start to do to see what they would want to do, if they would be even amenable to that. So what you'll see is that later on in the memo, I detailed that there's language we could potentially propose with an actual dollar figure that we could go into and see what we have for us. And then what I did is I tried to go through some of the fees that we currently have in our contract and explain them in a little bit more detail, because I had an opportunity to sit through a 2-hour seminar and then the Northeast Best Management Practices and kind of get a better understanding of the contamination fee and the residue fee and what that all means. And when it comes down to it, I mean, some of the things that I found out were actually, I was completely wrong in my initial assessment. Like, we are getting a 10% across the board non-recyclable cost, which is our residue fee. That is the same. That has not changed in 2021. So they are assuming that 10% of our recycled materials are not recyclable. So if we were to do an audit, that could be a good thing, or it could be a bad thing. So it's one of those things too, is looking at the composition audit and trying to get a better understanding of what it all means. Then looking at it, we found that, glass seems to be like the biggest hit to us, because we're losing money every single time in glass, because obviously the market and the quantity doesn't cost much. So if you look at that report that's in the folder, you'll see that we're actually losing money on glass every single time. So is there a potential to actually remove that from our contract? So, and find another way to make it more profitable to recycle, or to just a better way of recycling it. So something to take into consideration. So I kind of went into a little bit more detail about what those recyclable costs and what, some of the problem areas that pointed out. And then what we did is we did a whole fiscal year analysis on the other page. So it shows the revenues collected, and the revenues collected is what we received from Waste Management, Waste Zero. So with the overflow bag program, you'll see we don't really generate much revenue from this at all. Not many people are buying the bags, and Taylor just sent me an email, I want to say the other day, and was like, nobody's buying a bag here, what's going on? Are they enforcing the program? So we don't really generate much.
Nobody's enforcing that program.
That's
Nope.
part of it.
But you'll see that we have the invoice amount, you'll see the curbside fee that's set, you'll see the tonnage that differs throughout the months of the year, you'll see the cost, you'll see the diverted tons rate, and you'll also see the fuel charges, the months of pickup, and it differentiates between the trash and recycling as well. So you'll see the total for the fiscal year, so you can kind of see the way that it would draw down. If we did a pay-as-you-throw, that collected revenue side would start to fluctuate more with what we're taking in. And then just as Bill said, we would offset that cost with what we get in for invoices and things of that nature. So we wouldn't be spending as much, but like Stephanie said, it's not a revenue generator. You don't know that somebody's going to buy X amount of bags. So you can't really budget that somebody's going to buy all these bags and you're going to get all this additional revenue to support that. So you still have to budget wisely, and then that offset that cost so that whatever falls back to the year goes back to the town and can be used for other purposes for better budgeting moving forward. And then the last of it details more of the carts. So I had the follow-up conversation with Cascade. So we talked about the 64-gallon cart and the 35-gallon cart. It's the pricing and then the quantity, and then also the assembly and delivery, and that's the whole rollout process. And they give us like extra wheels and extra things that would be on the barrel. So somebody calls and their barrel's broken, we could have that DPW go out and they would fix the barrel for them with the parts that we have. So with the savings that we have of the 122 and the quoted value that we have, which is the 64 and 35, which ties into your previous conversation, what do you want to do there? You could potentially cut that cost more than half and be able to cover that with another reserve such as free cash and move forward with an automated program, and also start to initiate the pay-as-you-go. So things to consider. There's obviously other sides of the conversation that we should explore, but just diving into it in a little bit more detail, the amount of information I found and the conversations I had with our new projects and programs manager was extremely eye-opening, and some of the resources that he brought to the table. It was just really interesting to see that all, and I kind of wanted to put that before the committee so that you all could get a better understanding of some of the information that's come to light.
These prices would go up if we went $64.96,
Yes.
right?
It would go, I mean, it would just be the 107 plus 107.
If it was 64 and 64.
Exactly. So you could, if it would, the quantities and the pricing are the same, but they could potentially change based upon the HDPE index, which I'm still trying to learn a little bit more. I'm thinking it's like just like a fuel index kind of thing, like it fluctuates. But the gentleman did say that if it's down, then it could be less. So don't count those as solid figures, but they're good estimates to work with. So just all food for thought for you to take into consideration. I did have a good conversation with Waste Management. They are willing to negotiate with the select board and get some back and forth if we wanted to explore some of those other options, liquidated damages, maybe extending the terms that they had proposed with the contract. They're happy to answer any questions. I also had a really good conversation with Mello, and the president over there, and I think it would be also worthwhile maybe to bring in Mello to have a conversation with what they've been able to offer other communities. Not necessarily selling anything, but just giving us, what do they offer this community and how do they manage hardships and what do they see for barrels and what are some of that stuff? And then we could also maybe potentially have Waste Management in to kind of discuss a little bit more about their proposal and hear from them in terms of how they can be a potential help for us. So again, not really facilitating much on the negotiation side, but just kind of trying to get as much information as we possibly can and bringing and engaging those players in the conversation, because as we've learned, it's very complex, and even when we think we know something, it's not what it seems. So it might be nice to actually have that hands-on approach and hear from them directly and have all of your questions answered that we haven't really necessarily been able to answer. But still ties into the pay-as-you-throw. I'm just trying to collectively do it together so that it's not as too many changes.
I think with Waste Management, and I think I would have to sit down and make a chart to really make sure what I'm going to say. But my sense is, having looked at the billing, the actual billing, and reconstructed our bills, and then looked at other contracts, they have a number of charges that other contracts don't seem to have. We get an environmental charge, we get a fuel charge, plus if ever, and this hasn't happened for a long time, if we ever on the recycling side go into the black, they're only giving us 50% of that. When we go into the red, we pay 100% of that. And on top of that, on top of paying the red, then we're paying this company fee, a processing fee. I don't care what you call it. It's more per ton than the trash, right? That's recycling, you understand that? So I feel like, wow, this is a lot of charges. Now, if this lines up and when you add it all together, it's the same as what West Newbury is currently paying, what Boxford is currently paying, and some others, I'd be willing to look at. But when I tie that together with the customer service problems we've had with Waste Management in particular, and the frustration people have had trying to get in touch with them, and the lack of response and that's where the Friday people come in, that we don't even know how many times people's trash didn't really get them.
Wasn't Brian,
Aggravating that is.
wasn't Brian a little bit surprised by some of the charges that are in that contract as well? I feel like I remember them being a little puzzled.
Well,
by
Rebecca was the first one that told me how much we're paying for recycling, and that threw me out of my chair. And that's when I started to look at it and go, okay. I understand that recycling costs money, but when we contract our recycling through a trash company, do we pay more for the middleman management of that?
Yeah.
Because that's what's happening. The bill is coming, all the billing comes from Waste Management.
Right.
So they're the middleman. Maybe they have their own incinerator or whatever.
They
but-
do.
But they don't do the recycling thing, but they're our middleman manager. And I know how enticing it is to offer us free cards. You know, we want the free cards so bad, but I'm just fearful.
But they're not offering you free cards.
Well, they're trying to get us.
Nothing's free.
Nothing's free, really.
They wanted to give us the cards and I made it, because and I can go back, but I said that we didn't want to entertain that because they upcharge it and it just didn't seem better when we get a
Right.
better rate when we would do it with the supplier. So I thought that wasn't something we would want to consider, but we could, but they tried and I just said that I didn't
Okay,
think it
so
was
the cards are
advantageous.
not in play, but the automated pickup and then extending our relationship with Waste Management for 2 more years. And I
But with
guess,
the savings too, so you're also getting the additional
Right.
savings of 122.
yes, but I would expect to get that from whoever we go to. Once we have the cards, anybody we go to is going to give us a good deal on the automated pickup.
Not necessarily, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Oxford found that out.
Sometimes-
I just read through their last contract negotiation. That's what tipped their pickup. But they, in the last week or so, were negotiating with Waste Management and left the table with them because of the 50% on recycling. Why, when we're paying already a processing fee, plus we're paying the cost of the recycling? Why on top of that, the few times that this will ever happen that we're in the black, do we only get 50% of that? We're still already paying $110 a processing fee.
Well, that's something you can negotiate in a contract, but I'm gonna tell you, Waste Management, if they're not the biggest, they're one of the biggest
I
in
know
the
they're
industry.
I get it.
So now, what we, sometimes when you go to a smaller player, yeah, maybe you get more customer service.
Yeah,
You're paying for the services that Waste Management already owns somewhere along the line. The other thing you don't want to get caught in, right, is the player is so small that they go belly up in the middle of the contract like the last
oh, I
guy.
know.
And then
Yeah.
you get hamstrung into getting into a bad deal because you got trash piling up in the
But
streets.
My question is, can we at least
Do RFPs.
do a look at going directly to the recycling provider and contracting direct?
Right, why
Well,
can't, I thought we
why-
were gonna do requests for proposals from
I-
more than,
Right, but the question now is, thinking, do you want to just roll this contract out to grab these savings? But we'd have to eat 2 more years of it. But can we take the recycling out of it? Maybe not, because that's a moneymaker.
Well, I
Don't
think,
we
I
take-
think you need to be careful as well, just speaking of, I deal with a lot of RFPs in a lot of different scenarios.
Yep.
A lot of times RFPs do not guarantee you lower rates because they
do
know.
not guarantee what?
Do not guarantee you as the buyer to get lower rates. Because they know that all the bids we go in on, all the rates are right around here, so they kind of collectively know
Right,
where to be.
we're actually considering that, our request for
So,
proposal request.
Not saying it's always
No.
bad, but saying,
No,
don't
but-
assume it's always.
We,
And you could
Beneficial.
actually ask Waste Management maybe that we want a 2-year extension, understanding that it's really only a 1-year extension. There's ways that you can have a conversation without cutting yourselves off in the conversation.
right, no, I
It's all
agree.
up for a
No.
debate, and I still haven't looked at, like I said, we can bring in Waste Management for additional questions, we can bring in Mello for additional understanding of what they've done in the surrounding communities, because it's either Waste
Yeah.
Management or Mello. I haven't explored the potential of contracting directly with the incinerator like West Newbury does, but we can engage in a conversation with them. I mean, nothing prohibits us from having a conversation. So.
Is it, what's the difference between what you're doing right now, which is good, and us just going out for a request for information right now?
We can, but we're not gonna get anything in place for the next 2 years anyway.
Well,
So
I know that, but I mean, would it be like, would we get more people coming forward, or do you feel like what you're doing you're doing great. I don't have a problem with it. I'm asking for to understand it.
Well, I think financially, a lot of times what happens as well is that Waste Management, any offer they might be giving us might be contingent on not having an RFI, because they'll give you a little bit of a lower rate because they don't want it to go out to bid.
Well, we're not going out to bid. If we go out, we've already talked about that, we're just gonna go out for information because we wanna have flexibility
Mhm.
to take into account that, like the company, how long has it been in business?
But they know.
Where are they located? Where are they taking our trash? That matters, because we need to know these things, because we're responsible for our trash even after it leaves this town, as we found out the hard way when we had to pick it for part of the landfill in Haverhill. We had to empty our free cash for that. So it matters who we deal with. I guess what I'm wondering is, you're getting really great information doing what you're doing now. Is that the way we could just go forward? And then, like, if people say, did you go for a request for proposal, we'll say no. What we had as the town administrator was in a ongoing quest for information for about 6 months or something like that. Is that something that we can do? Are we allowed to do that? Do it that way? Or not? Are we bargaining bad faith or something? I want to know where the
well, you're
line
not
is.
bargaining in bad faith. You have a current contractor who's willing to open up the contract, and the select board has the ability and the authority to renegotiate that based
Correct.
upon their contracting authority.
Yes,
Then you have other firms that are willing to come and talk to you about what they're doing in other communities. You're not bargaining with them saying, well, I'll give you this if you give me
Right,
this
because
and
we're
I'll
in
do
the
this.
contract.
You're just saying, we're exploring as part of the RFP process, what we would like to do next
Okay.
step. What we know that in Boxford, you were able to do A, B, and C. Can you tell us more about that so that we can structure any
Yeah.
request we have to maybe resemble that? So
Okay.
giving some, asking questions from somebody in the industry is not bargaining out of good faith, but offering them things in return for what your service is. That's when you get into a more dangerous territory of.
Right.
Of
So,
bargaining.
yeah, because when I looked over like what other towns have done, like in this, I hate going to Boxford just because they did a pretty big report.
Mhm.
And they explained, what they looked at, how they looked at it.
They did not go up for bid.
No, I know, but they had a nice, that's why I'm saying, what they did is they detailed in their report what they had looked at, why they looked at it that way, what they had found, as we're learning tonight, and why they recommended to go this way. Does that make sense to everybody? To do it, to approach it, that we're actually building a report.
Okay, building a report.
It, you know what I'm saying?
Could I just ask one question on
Yes.
on the carts? So they didn't give a quote on the bins, right?
The 96.
Yeah.
I did get a quote for the
Oh,
96.
did you know how much it was per?
My
I'm
computer
just
got
curious
on me.
because if the bi-weekly recycling pickup becomes part of the conversation, it'd be good
Yes.
to know how much a 96 gallon would cost.
I'm amazed at glass, that they don't want glass in recycling. I mean, to me, like glass.
Because it's infinitely
You
recyclable.
smash it down and make another glass, right? Or am I
You
like,
melt it down and you make more glass, but
right, but they
glass
don't,
is sand.
want it. It sounds like they don't want it.
And if it ends up in the trash, it just adds to our tonnage. It's like,
But is this a
This
negotiable
is
then?
why it would be
Recycle.
interesting to talk to a recycler.
Well, is the company fee or the processing fee, is that negotiable?
There is a place who's taking
everything
recycled bottles
is
now.
negotiable,
making
Yeah.
back in
I mean, if we
Disney
open our
and
contract,
help to,
because
right?
I just don't
So
understand
Everything,
why
right?
help with
we're paying,
So-
if I'm understanding it correctly, we're paying $110 a ton
All
for
depends on the
recycling.
on the
and then on
negotiator.
top,
You don't ask.
we're paying another fee once the mixed value comes out, right?
So you're
And-
only offsetting so the value of what they bring in, like with the material component, and then they have like an actual value
Yes,
of
I know.
what people are willing to pay for it. And then you have your composition audit, which is over here. So you're automatically gonna pay your 10% right there, so that you're automatically paying of all of the recyclables, 98.35 that they're assuming that is not recycled. And then you're paying for the black, which is what was.
Okay, but if I were to sit down,
They're taking
put the
out.
trash tonnage off to the side and just add up on a monthly basis what I'm paying for recycling total versus for recycling tonnage. It seems to me that we're well over 120 for recycling. Because of all these fees, we're paying $110, the processing, the company fee is for recycling, correct?
So the company fee, what they call the company fee in the 2021 contract
Yes,
is the single stream recycling process. So it's
Right.
the processing fee.
yeah, whatever you want to call it, that's the tonnage cost for recycling, correct?
Correct.
Okay, then on top of that, they charge us a 10% contamination flat fee, correct?
You get the 10%, the
Yeah,
10%.
whether we burn it or
non-recycling
not,
cost,
yes.
yes.
Okay, and then on top of that, they do their little chart with the mixed value and they come down to the bottom line and say, oh, you owe us this much money. Like when I look at the monthly bill, I can.
It's not an additional charge. They're taking the monies that they get from of selling the commodity and they're offering it to you as a rebate.
But
Up to 50% of the blended value.
Yeah. Okay, but again, if I sit down with the bill and I just add up what I'm paying a ton per ton for recycling, it seems absurd. It would be cheaper to throw it all in the trash.
Oh my
Now
God.
you're
I knew
catching
you
on.
were gonna come up with that.
No, but I don't want to, but I
But-
wonder if all the contracts, that's where I have not seen this company processing fee and some of the other.
I wish we could talk to a recycler to find out.
Well, no, we have the folder.
The recycling has been a problem for 10 years.
If I look at,
Southeast Asia is no longer taking
Yeah.
this stuff.
Well, plastic is a problem.
But
And nobody wants to recycle it because the cost is still
trash and
too great. And what used to be, come on,
you know. I was.
Rebecca, you can
source
say
of revenue.
later.
That's
Okay,
cost
I'm
center.
sorry.
No,
it's
no,
not
no, that's
pulling up.
fine.
That's not gonna change.
No?
It was, my intention of doing this, it was, I had received information, I had done some more
No, no, no.
research, I wanted to present it to the committee to provide a little bit more direction as to what the
Right,
committee would like to focus on. I think it's a great opportunity to hear more from Waste Management and their willingness to help us with our waste diversion type techniques and limiting the barrels and getting to automated and providing better enhanced customer service. And then I thought it was interesting to hear that, Mello had provided some input into their operation just to see how different people operate. So that if we did want to do an RFI or an RFP, we definitely 100% can. But now maybe we know, like, having experienced a conversation with somebody in the industry, oh, this is how this is done. I don't like that, or I like to give this option to the residents instead of this option, and we can put that in there and we know what we want. We're still controlling the
but
conversation.
can you look at the, this chart? It's in our folders. It shows the mellow, it shows the recycling tonnage for West Newbury. And they're paying like $66, $76, $60 a ton. Is that all they're paying? And we're paying 110 plus whatever per ton.
But then there's the disposal. So Mello is only disposing it and Covanta is the incinerator. So you're getting a hauling cost per ton and you're.
They already have, they have a flat, here's their tonnage for trash right there. And this is what I'm looking at. They have a separate, they don't go through Mello to pay this bill, they just pay this.
But that, I think there's two fees there.
Well, I'm looking for, this is their trash fee. This is the incinerator. And this is,
But Mello is picking it up, so they're the hauler. So there's two separate costs associated
right,
with it.
I know, but
Mello was hauling the recycling, and then the recycling center is charging a fee.
so I don't, so that's what I don't see, I'd like to.
So that
see
fee is getting billed directly to
Well, we need.
West
to
Newbury or whatever town that
Town.
is,
See,
Separately.
separately, exactly.
that's what we think.
Oh, I mean,
Head to another-
Nobody does anything and
But
nothing.
any insight,
I mean, I just
information?
just
please
look at
relay,
this
I'll
and
do
tell
whatever
me
I can to get
you
any
wouldn't like
information.
wonder. I
Thank you.
mean, I'm gonna go back to West Newbury and ask for
Thank you
more
for your work.
information. This is what they've given me so far, and it's in our
Which one do I
shared folder.
Okay, thank you.
This is West Newbury,
Yeah, I mean, I wanna jump on savings for the town, no question.
recycling.
But I'm
ton.
just like, I don't wanna overlook something that's right in front of my face. I wanna make sure I understand what West Newbury is paying right now, because right now it looks impossible. So you're probably right, maybe there's another fee,
there has to be another fee.
but I need to find it to satisfy myself, else I can't let go of it. I just keep going back to that same thing. Thinking, wondering.
If the proposal from Waste Management is, is good and it can give the town what we think it needs, then fine. But I think we'd be remiss if we didn't go out and do some sort of investigation to see what other companies.
Yes,
Okay.
I thought we were doing
But,
RFPs.
well, the idea is we're locked into how many?
Twenty twenty-six, isn't it? Or 2027?
Not
Mhm.
next year, not the year after, but the year after that, I thought.
I thought we had 2 years. left.
Yes.
FY 25 and
Not this year, not next year, but the year
This
after.
year And one more year.
Yes.
So if we agreed now to extend 3 years, you'd really only be adding 1 year. is what Rebecca
Two.
was-
Two. Because we're in a current year, so we would add two if it was 3 years.
We'd add 2. 'cause
Yes.
but I don't,
Because we're in year one now.
So they're not offering to open up the contract to, for us to recognize cost savings during those years that we're already in the contract?
yes,
or
they
Yes.
are
are.
they?
Yeah, they are right now.
They are.
Okay,
That's.
FY 25, 26.
so we don't have to extend the contract to see these savings.
No, we
don't.
No, we do.
They won't.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
You don't want to give us the cost savings if we're not going to extend the contract.
Okay,
Is even if we go get the cards.
Yeah.
Make it automated because we've already signed the contract.
right.
They will
We
not
won't
change. our-
recognize that unless we extend it, and we won't see the savings until the year of the extension?
No, they'll give the
See it.
savings right away.
Yeah,
Okay,
So we would
But
say.
And how much of an extension or they haven't said?
Well, right
Well,
now.
we're in FY 25 and it would go out to FY 27, so it would go out an additional 2 years.
Yeah,
But,
The contract would amend
Yeah, how quickly-
effective immediately,
okay,
so it'd be FY 25, 26, and 27.
gone pretty quick.
Mhm.
Yeah.
okay.
But again, I think we would be remiss and would not be doing our due diligence if we didn't look at what other companies offer.
I
I'm
agree,
sorry, But I
especially
just,
given the issues we've had with waste
Right,
management.
because you, the idea would be that we won't say, like this year. We wouldn't save anything, probably not, right, because it's.
no, I think the savings would be
Yeah.
immediate, according to the way I understood what
All right.
Rebecca said.
Yeah.
We'd see $122,136,000 savings.
Well, he's
Right.
saying that's, the years are 221 to 224. But the years are weird, I don't know why the years look like that. So I'd have to,
Well, because the contract was signed in 2021,
yes.
so it was, the collection for household was 606,000.
No, but we're not by 25 now.
Right, so the last one, the extension offer in 2024, if we went to the automated, would reduce that to 483, thereby saving the town 122,136.
Right. So-
Now, if we were to do that and negotiate a 2-year contract,
Right.
we're already in year 1. That would buy us some time to do what Dave, and I think he's right, suggest that we go out and we really hone in on RFQ and say,
Okay, but
who can do what for us?
so, but.
And if
before-
that requires, say, we drop waste management for recycling and go with another carrier that does it every other week, that again should save us some money. And that's the goal, to reduce and save.
We want to reduce and save, I agree. That is a goal.
That FY 24 extension goes through next fiscal year, correct? FY 26?
I believe the contract ends in FY 20. Let me look. I have a contract, I have it. Let's get this.
Maybe it is this year. I thought it was another 3 years, but
We're close to done. Let me see.
I'm not sure we're under contract. I think it might be.
no, I thought there was another extension.
We signed an extension, bill. We did, we signed a 5.
Yeah, in 2021.
Are there really only 2 haulers in this area? I see Casella trucks.
There's Waste Management, there's Mello, there's Casella, there's Capital, there's Republic.
So there's
Mhm.
way more than
There's
2 options.
Waste,
And maybe it's worth finding a,
Wind Waste
Okay.
and Innovations.
oh, that sounds interesting. But maybe it's worth finding a independent recycler.
I mean, I think all options should be
All
on the
options.
table.
Yes, I don't know why it seems like
Okay,
we're
this is
settling on this
220.
waste management.
220.
I think,
Well, I
because
think-
it's something to buy us time right now, because
We need to consider this because it's part of our charge. We have to consider it.
Mhm.
What
And I
they-
think it gives us
I just don't want to
an immediate solution
anchor on this.
No, we're not dropping an anchor on. it.
for,
I'm just looking.
to get the cards immediately, reduce the cost and maybe start bringing in some, I'm gonna say revenue, but it's not revenue.
Oh, it looks like.
no, it just reduced some costs and it
And
bought us a
offset the
little bit of
cost. of-
time
Yeah.
to really do our due diligence and hone in on what's the
Yes.
best,
So June 30th, 2026
what is the best
is the end.
solution for Groveland.
June 30th, 2026. Yeah.
June.
And waste management is feeling like is putting pressure on us because they really want us to renew with them.
Sure, they do.
Well,
So this is
Well,
pressure.
Well, it's negotiable.
no, it's not
yeah.
pressure, it's just-
That is.
Well,
If you don't do this now, you're gonna lose this golden
Well, they're
opportunity.
not saying now.
no,
No,
They're saying while we're in our contract.
Yeah,
They
they're
were
willing to.
willing-
open it.
probably
They don't have
standard
to
operating
open it.
procedure for them to look at a contract and say, there's only 2 years left. We should go out to them
Yeah.
and we can't get an extension.
Well, they know that this contract, they know as well as we know that this contract is tipped so that if you look at the numbers of, we started out with for the year that ended in June 30th, 2022, to pick up trash for the whole town, was $389,000. Right? We said, "Oh, it's not bad." Then whirl ahead,
Right.
this year, this year when we end. No, the year that ended on June 30th, 2024, we paid $480,000.
Mhm.
And guess what? The year that we're in now, $542,000. So by the time we end this contract, it's almost doubled. The cost of picking up the trash, forget the amount of trash. That's almost, $300,000 extra money just to pick up trash because it's not. I mean, I think towns are saving anywhere from 200,000 to 122. I think it's more than 122.
But to be automated,
Yes, I think
Yeah.
Boxford went out to bid regular and then went out automated.
So the option on the table is to automate, do pay as you throw and extend our contract for 1 or 2 years.
Right, so what would happen
Is that the option that's on the table at
Yeah,
the
to-
moment?
Not for anything.
to.
I
it's
can't
a
believe,
one- It's only a 1-year extension, she's right. To go to FY 27, because we're already going to
Right.
FY 26.
right,
I play a lot of cards, a lot of poker, but
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you. I never play poker with all my hands, with all my
I
cards
know.
face up. Now, to sit here in a public meeting
I
and
know,
negotiate what we're gonna do, I think is one of the most idiotic things I've ever seen.
well, we're not.
We've
we're-
tipped our hands to anybody that wants to watch
Let me make
what
it-
we plan
Yeah.
on doing.
No, we're a public committee, we're not the negotiating party.
We're
So
not.
it's only our
But
job is to
it-
look at this and say, compared to what else we've seen.
Does anybody?
No, but they can watch these videos whenever they
Of
want.
course they can, but who wouldn't ask these same questions? This is
Right.
no secret.
Absolutely.
There's no secrets here. We've got the cost of all the contracts around us. There's no secrets.
I would think it would give the players an advantage, knowing what we're thinking, how much we're
Well,
paying.
good, maybe they'll make us another deal.
Mhm.
Who knows?
I agree.
I mean, it just to me, it's.
Yeah, I don't know if it works that way.
I get,
Waste management is a multi-billion-dollar, multinational
Yeah.
conglomerate. They don't need our business
Listen.
badly.
We fall off in the rounding,
Exactly.
no doubt about it.
Exactly.
but they're in the second.
A mellow? Absolutely. They could use our business.
Yes,
Mello, Casella, Capital.
yeah, those are the ones I see around.
Wind waste innovation.
Yes, let's make a list of all the
Right.
possibles.
So
If we're
But-
automated, what do
okay.
you offer us?
this is, the point is, they can't do what waste management can do for us right now. Understand that. They were in a contract. and
Well,
we're
yeah,
gonna pay-
this would have to wait until this current contract expires.
All the way up to the $606,000 pickup cost.
if we stayed this course we're at today,
Yes.
if we move to the cards, we can save $122,000.
Right, and all we have to do is.
And sign an
move the
extension.
contract for one additional year.
And if we
if-
sign a 2-year
If-
extension,
if
that's only
that's
one
something
additional
we
year.
want to- As a recommendation, doesn't mean we're not going out for proposal, doesn't mean
Well,
all the other
It's-
stuff isn't gonna happen.
it's
This is-
FY 27, which ends in June of 28, correct?
No, 27. This is the FY year is the year it ends. That's something. else.
alright.
Unless they don't understand it the way we do. The fiscal
No.
year that we're in now is
Yeah, they
FY
must.
25.
No, it has to run with our fiscal year.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, when they say FY 27, looking at our contract, that's only.
Do it in June 30 of
One
27.
1 year.
additional year
Mhm.
on our contract. And in return, they're not gonna change anything else, but they're gonna,
Well, they're gonna rewrite the contract for those final 2 years. That's why I think
Right.
they're saying it's a 2-year extension,
Mhm.
it's like.
the final 3.
Why
That's why it's.
why
yeah,
606
But we're
is
in year
only
one.
We're in year one,
2021.
yeah.
Maybe it's a mistype because
No,
606 is what we pay for the final year.
Right.
So it's that final cost minus, so are they gonna freeze us at this cost?
I don't understand this.
I don't
I
either.
don't understand
I
that.
think we all have to
Unless
take,
it's going,
Can we take some time?
I think
and
we
just-
have to take this home
Who's
and
this?
read this.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cause it's hard to get it.
Okay.
You know,
but also look at, you have the shared folder, right?
I still think it would behoove us also to really think about the 96 gallon receiving now, because if we went to every other week recycling,
Hey, we're good, we're just winding.
we want a
down.
bigger part.
I think we're
Yeah.
finding out. of
Yeah.
steam.
Yeah.
Rebecca will give us that information and
Are we-
then can add
Let
that
me just
in.
look at the agenda.
And I guess my takeaways from the presentation from the DEP pays you throw people last week were maybe, I mean, I thought that was very valuable, that they're a very useful tool for us, and that they really stressed that if we want to adjust people's behavior to use a smaller trash container.
We want to shrink it down to this tiny little.
No, but I'm just saying, 35 gallon is a decent sized trash barrel.
Okay, and I think can counter again with. We're
We're not gonna be
finding-
adjusting any
we're-
behavior.
We're fine, well,
Well, pay as you throw will adjust.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the other side of the
And
coin. is
so-
If you're requiring people to pay for trash bags, because I'll tell you right now, I'm not thrilled about the idea, and I don't know if I'll vote for it or against it at this point. Because I don't want to have to pay for trash.
but you're not. oh,
I know,
you
I
are-
get the,
On this committee, you get to vote, but
yeah,
understand that for the general public, because it's a contract. The select board is who we're trying
Right.
to
Right, right.
recommend to.
Mhm.
right.
So we don't want to go in there with 2 points of view still. We have to come to a consensus.
Yep.
And consider everything, including floating this out there and getting the buy-in. Because the
I-
thing
I-
could go against us. It is a possibility. If people were angry enough, they could vote down the contract at the town meeting. They have
Absolutely.
that right. They
Mhm.
have
I
that
think-
right.
I think if pay as you throw is what everybody thinks is the silver bullet. Community outreach needs to be happening now.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we talked to the MAC people about.
So, I mean, we shouldn't be waiting until the bags are in hand and that's the decision is it's gonna be,
They agree with that,
Right,
yes.
so.
but pretty much.
That's what
because
they're there
if
for.
That's the case. This town will rebel.
There's
No, that's what they're there for, and I don't see,
But there's no.
I don't understand why it's so difficult to think of this as a utility. I mean,
Just-
maybe everybody needs to walk through my neighborhood.
I just don't think people see it that way. People look at it as you pay taxes for certain things. And one of those
You
things
still will.
you still pay taxes for is you get certain,
The base rate,
you get certain
and then you. pay-
benefits from your taxes. You get certain services out of your taxes. You get a fire department, you get a police department, and you get trash and curbside recycling.
Will,
You still will, but you're paying for that as part of your taxes. That's what people are gonna tell you. I'm telling you, and people are gonna be upset about it. They will be upset.
So what we'll have to do is.
But
help
there's
them
also
to
maybe people that are upset because they work really, really hard and maybe put out their trash once every 2 or 3
Mhm.
weeks.
yes,
While their neighbor is putting out their trash.
piles of
piles of
trash
it, And so.
that never gets
So
enforced.
unfortunately, it works both ways.
Yes.
That-
You know, when say a single person who's, you know, a senior
Right,
is paying the
Fixed
same
income.
amount as another bunch
It's
of
not
people that
fair.
are putting out.
I
trash.
don't doubt
So
that happens,
That's what, well, that's.
but I
where the-
bet you that's,
right here.
But that's where.
that is the exception to the rule.
That
I-
is where the
I-
utility thing comes in. It's like, if you want to save money at home, you really are careful about your electricity and what you plug in and how long you leave your lights on and how hot or cold you keep your house. If you're really concerned about what you pay. And your neighbor, they want to have their Halloween lights, Christmas
Swimming
light,
pool
everything
with all
going on,
water
right?
in it.
That's their business too. But I don't feel I should have to pay for that.
No. you should-
I'm not,
That's the point.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying from firsthand experience, that is gonna be the primary
Right.
argument.
But I'm also
I-
gonna say that in this town, when I first moved here. The electric department used to give us a free month in December because of our Christmas lights. So all good things sometimes have to come to some sort of change. And we've reached that point with the trash contract. I think the service interruptions we saw, the frustration, the enormous cost that we've had to absorb in this contract just for the curbside pickup, just for that part of it. Forget all the other charges.
Well,
That alone.
I
is-
think that was a
is-
breach of contract personally by Waste Management because they didn't live up to the contract for what appears to be no good reason.
Right, so we rate.
And that should have been something that was addressed at the time.
Again, we're putting this on TV, so here goes our strategy out to the public.
Huh?
We had a penalty clause in the contract. And when I went to the attorney at Putnam and Page, he said to me, oh, they'll just take it out, but I'll put it in. And it
Well,
never.
why would anybody agree to take that out
Wait.
as a
Let
negotiator?
her finish.
Hey,
Well, I'm just asking.
I know, I was like, okay, but people really want a penalty clause in. Now, on this committee, now having looked through, all these other towns have a penalty clause. And we allowed it to get taken out because our legal advisor told us, oh yeah, they're just gonna take it out. And I was like, okay, that's my first time with the trash contract, so we're not allowed to have this? No, we are. So that's,
Absolutely.
when we get to the customer service part of this, that will be some things that I think we can all be we'll probably be united on it. But I think right now, what we need to do, what we really need to do is really go through this proposal, understand that this is not the next contract. This is a proposal that would save money under the current contract. It does involve a 1 year additional commitment. That's what it looks like right now.
So
I
27.
No, I see one.
You're gonna
2027.
renegotiate the last year of the contract, so technically it's a 2-year extension.
Okay, but if we're already locked in, we're adding 2027 to the contract. And we're locked in right now in 2026.
Right.
So for non-negotiating people like me, I look at it as, okay, what's the downside? The downside is for that 1 year, we don't get to address anything on recycling really, probably. We can try to ask about it. If they open the contract up, everything's open, so maybe we can have a penalty clause of something. They would accept something for people when they get frustrated and their concerns aren't addressed. What would be the consequence? We can look at, I have now that we have a folder full of other contracts, we can look at other contracts and say, you know, the next time we hear from a resident who's, they sent to Rebecca now, who hasn't had their concern addressed, we want to have something that we can do.
I mean,
Yeah.
were we also gonna look at the enforcement side? Because right now there is none.
Well, with the cards, that would take care of enforcement.
Okay,
I think personally, there's no way to enforce what we currently have in the
No.
contract. We don't have the staff.
No, I
to do
mean,
it on that.
the people who put out more trash than they're supposed to
Yeah,
or
well,
whatever.
How do you enforce it?
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have
Yeah,
trash laying out in the
resources.
yard.
Okay.
They'll wait till next week. We'll probably leave it there till next week, something. So, you know, we're just creating a hazard in the town. I mean, we tried, we got people to go down from 4 barrels and for the most part.
Unlimited.
I think we kind of got them down a little bit, okay? And I think with the automated cart for both trash and recycling, I think you're gonna see a change in how people are piling things out front. Now it's gonna be because they'll be able to say, no, we're not picking that up. You left the box full of cardboard, no, we're gonna take that. It has to be in the cart.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like we're mitigating or diverting.
I think we have to.
This is the same amount of trash.
Another discussion, personally, what I feel like is that we should have a full center down here, book drop, clothing and shoe drop, all the things that people throw in the trash that are heavy. Make it convenient to put it somewhere else. This thing with glass, if it's really that big a problem, should we have our own glass pickup? I mean, what is it with glass?
I know, that's why I'd like to talk to an independent recycler.
Yeah.
Yeah, but,
Glass and
find out
aluminum are
more.
infinitely recyclable.
okay, well,
Yeah.
if we can find out a way to do more here in town, get people more on board, make it more convenient. So that you don't just clean out a bookcase and throw it all in the trash, right? This is what's going on now. We know this, right? Shoes are disposable. Up, shoes
Oh, we have
throw 'em.
plenty of places to take.
Yeah, there's
them.
five.
Right here in town.
No, we
Five,
don't
there's
have-
five.
We do,
Yeah, there's a five. Where-
We have
We talked about
five.
this 100 times.
Trash.
It was in the newsletter. Would you like me to,
Yeah,
here,
tell me.
here it is.
Five.
Here's my newsletter. We have
Yeah.
Main Street ×2, School Street ×2, and Washington Park.
Those are the clothing and shoe drop, right?
Yeah.
Mhm, Textile
Right here.
recycling.
No, what
Right
about,
behind the fire station.
okay, put it more visible.
Town
I'm sorry,
Hall,
what?
More
Phoenix,
visible, put it back.
it
here.
can't be more, Town
But
Hall,
it's right there.
Phoenix,
You walk
Phoenix
into
Printing,
Town Hall
the
and
Water
there
and
it
Sewer
is.
Department, Bagnall, and Washington Park.
That, know what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bagnell has one too.
And you know what? There's an extra one at Tea Garden.
Oh, and they take.
Always
I see
full
it
and
says-
always
oh,
overflowing and there's
Yeah.
always junk
it
out.
says
Whatever,
books
we
too,
have
like
that.
Tea Garden. These are not,
I don't think people know where all these things are. I think.
that's
people
why
don't.
we made the
I
newsletter.
know,
That's what
but I
they're
think what else we can do to highlight this?
Did we, where,
Because I mean, I
did we
didn't
just go
even
through a
see
time
one.
warp?
I didn't see one there, it's not visible.
You can get rid of your
The
clothes
one
and your
Washington
shoes.
Park, yes,
no problem.
right there, you see it.
Sheets.
You know what?
But there's no
It's
book
become
drop.
invisible.
There's, yes, I've just
There every
said,
day.
right by the tea garden,
Right,
there's one, it says book drop.
book drop.
Yes.
okay. So,
There's
You know
all
what,
kinds of
that
stuff.
one has the Planet Aid bin next to it, and people dump everything into those two bins, and they're always full. They're
Oh,
always
gosh.
junking stuff outside of them.
Well, I haven't noticed that, but
okay, well, we.
you very well could be correct, but I haven't noticed that. There was one
Let's
time I
check
saw
out the
one that
bins.
was overflowing.
We
by
don't own
Phoenix
those
Printing.
bins. It's other, right? Each
These
one
are
is
the ones-
controlled by a
So-
different entity.
Right, and
Why doesn't the town get more then?
We have the one over here behind the.
the one behind Town Hall, Kathy,
Other-
they weigh all that stuff
Yes.
and they cut a check to the
Right.
Council on Aging.
Getting rid of
The one by Phoenix Printing,
Right, but why
they weigh
can't-
all that stuff and they cut a check to the library. That's where those two go.
It's
Okay,
just
but
trying to-
They're all different, they're all different.
How
I
much
just-
money does it generate? Any idea? I'm just curious.
Well, you might get like $100 check. I forget how often at the library, but it'll be like over $100.
but like on
And
the
it goes
south
into
side
the
of
French
town,
group.
or South Groveland, we have. the
And it
closest
diverts
to-
all, we're saving all this money
We
because
don't
it
have
didn't
a-
go
we
in the
don't have a-
trash.
Right, no, I understand. I'm just
Yeah.
wondering how much money it generates for the
I just-
agencies that.
Parks visible.
Well, I mean, I don't wanna have. It's not exactly aesthetically pleasing to look at those dumpsters either,
We
because
don't want 'em-
essentially they're dumpsters, so why would I put one right in the
Well,
I
center?
think the fact that
Elm
we have
Park.
5 in
We have
town,
5,
is
plus,
superb.
plus Tea Garden.
it's superb.
There's one across the street in front of Nicole's too.
Not a big town.
No, but I mean, that is a great service that we
I
have.
was looking for a book drop, and I finally found one over there, I didn't even know we had,
I'm just saying
and
that
I drive around all the time.
we should be working on also diversion and mitigation, not just,
Well, diversion is.
not just
is the-
helping people to
you
throw
know,
away as much trash as
Probably
possible.
take all their kids' sneakers and chuck them in the garbage, because they don't wanna drive all the way over, or they don't know where to drive.
They're so convenient.
That's why we put
They're
out the
so
newsletter.
convenient. Everybody goes to Bagnell or they come to Town Hall or the library. When
Yeah.
you do that, you pack
So
it
we
all
should find
together.
out,
and put it-
that one filling up behind the fire station, if people go there,
I'm
I
sorry.
mean, if
I have
one
no
of them
idea.
is filling up and overflowing, and one of them is not,
Well, I
then,
think part of the
you know.
problem is the one near Tea Garden.
yeah,
It's privately owned. They don't pay enough attention to it. And when they do go empty it, half the stuff that's in there is probably trash that they aren't gonna
A lot of
recycle.
assumptions.
I don't know
I'm not,
anything. I don't
because-
know
I
anything.
mean,
about
I haven't talked to them about it. You're making a lot of assumptions. Who knows what the facts are?
but isn't it the
So-
same company? that-
No, it's
When it-
not. That's what we
There,
keep
it's
saying.
all different
Kathy.
companies.
When you go
They're all
in,
different.
there's stuff, there's signs right on the outside. We do
There is
not
a-
take this, this and this. And then you see outside the bin, it's all
newsletter?
stuff they don't take.
I'm sorry.
No, that's
I
okay.
know I have one. in
Okay,
here.
so but a different company.
It's not an assumption. I mean, I've seen it myself. I'm
You
telling
went and
you.
inspected all the.
No, not
That
this,
dumpster?
not this. I'm talking about the one at Tea Garden.
Okay,
Yeah, we don't know anything about that. That one's not even mentioned under our.
Because I'm talking about the one specifically at Tea Garden.
Okay.
Because people are dumping stuff over there
But
that they
we don't have
don't accept.
jurisdiction
we don't. And
We don't
these
have
5
jurisdiction
are
over it.
town.
These-
I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the other ones.
So
We're
we
talking
can't do
about
anything
those.
about that.
I just wonder, are we filling them up? I mean, the more we can push people to divert, the better.
Exactly.
And I know in families, having been through this, you're throwing out T-shirts, sneakers, boots.
But you're supposed to be diverting it. That was the whole point of the
I know,
newsletter.
but are they?
Well, if that's another thing, it's a personal choice you have to do. Or
I mean, that's-
some people take it to a thrift
Right.
shop, some people
But that.
take it to
the
Salvation
page and
Army.
throw- This could be another argument for the page and throw
Yes.
bags, because if you don't make it cost you something to fill up that bag with your kids' rain boots and torn up sneakers.
That's why
You're
I've
not
been
gonna
so
drive down
hopeful
through
about the
lots of
pay as you
people.
throw because it
Yeah.
will entice people to divert their trash.
Think about it and to think about it more.
Yep.
Yes, and that was their whole point when they came and talked to us last month for 2.5 hours of if you don't encourage
Yep,
all the trash output,
yes.
then eventually we see the trash output go down. And that's what's gonna make a big difference in our costs.
Right.
Right,
So-
because our tipping fees won't
We
be. the-
do need to consider this, right, for our next meeting. We do need to go through this and think about it. You need to consider the diversion thing. Black Earth has 27 people involved. And I can go online because I have an account and see the amount of tons that they're collecting in compost from just 27. So you could extrapolate that.
So here, speaking of diversion, can I just bring up two things that I think, the whole TerraCycle project
Yes,
that we were working on. So there are two containers
Oh,
in
okay.
town hall
Right.
right now. One of them is for the razor blades, Gillette packaging, doesn't have to be Gillette, it can be any brand. And the other one will be for like toothpaste tubes.
okay, so when you
Okay.
give the razor blade,
And
you should do an
Rebecca,
infomercial. Do you put it in the plastic
no,
cover thing?
well, yeah, you would put it in,
Plastic cover thing.
You know,
yeah, but also disposable razors are
Men's
part
and
of it
ladies
as
are
well.
different.
Yeah, right. We don't have to get into
Keep it
that.
generic.
I'm totally Stephen.
Rebecca is now with Annie, I assume is working on getting that on social media
Okay.
and making sure it's
So
announced,
same
but I'm
on
letting you
Tuesday.
guys know that TerraCycle that you had suggested, we are doing that now. The other thing I wanted to report on was hazardous waste day, household hazardous
That's coming
waste
up.
day. No,
It's
it
done.
was last
Oh,
Saturday.
that's Saturday.
It was last Saturday.
Too soon.
And I just wanted to let everybody know it was very successful. I want to thank my husband, Michael. He was there with me and Jim Lafferty, my neighbor. We were volunteering the entire time. And let me tell you, that was nonstop. From 8 o'clock until it was at least 12:30. Cars going through to get rid of their stuff.
Right.
It was nonstop.
Good,
I was glad when it ended. believe me.
okay.
But last year Groveland residents, 30 Groveland cars went through. This year 34. So Groveland is actively participating in this, and we do get RDP points for participating in it for the grant that Rebecca had talked about. So we'll be getting money for having participated. And part of that money goes to contributing to the whole thing. It's a very costly and expensive thing to get rid of this stuff. But again, this is
So it's like
huge
motor oil.
waste
right?
diversion,
Yeah.
yes. Oil-based paint, you know, pesticides, that kind of stuff, hairspray, bottles and things like that. But anyways, I was really pleased to work with Newburyport. They're wonderful.
Yes.
West Newbury worked with us, Newbury. Yeah, those four towns, West Newbury, Newbury,
So-
Groveland and Newburyport. We hope to continue to do this on an annual
I think.
basis every fall. Usually it's in September.
Yeah,
and,
so we should go back from our volunteers to get more people on, right?
Well, it would be nice to have a few more people,
Okay,
yeah.
so we
But,
can-
but it went really well. And I think people are starting to get the idea too, that you can't take latex paint to hazardous waste yet, because you can dry that out and actually throw it in your trash. They won't accept the
We just
latex.
leave it open,
So
leave
we-
it out and hardens or whatever and.
Yeah, you,
Throw kitty litter on.
but we have to,
You know.
we have to make sure that we keep reminding people of that, because that was a part of confusion. you
Yeah.
know, That people had, like, what do you mean? It says acrylic, well, that's latex, you know? So anyways, we still have a ways to go with more education on
I'm
this,
just
but
wondering,
I think that it's really a good thing.
when does it go up? Before hazardous waste day, August, every August, no? we're gonna-
September.
Yeah, but they've outsourced that now.
I know.
Yeah, we
Oh, so we
can't,
can't
we
stop?
can't stuff the envelopes anymore.
We couldn't give it to them to stuff?
It's very,
We'll have to send postcards or something.
Well, we should ask them.
but I just
Water
think we
and
need to keep, when we
water
talk
and
to
sewer.
people about hazardous waste day, just
I
emphasize.
don't know, but you could put
things.
something in water and sewer, like quarterly. September? Don't we get? I don't know. You don't have town water?
I do, but I don't
I know I get one. And then
pay
mine,
attention to those.
and then you get one. and then-
All right, so those were good things.
Yes,
All
I
right.
think the water, I think. And when I get the water bill to October, no, what do you think? You should check. Because if you could put something in that has the pictures of what you can bring, then the water.
Well, all this information is on town website, but it's just directing people to that and just helping people understand what, you know, you don't want to bring your latex paint.
So it's not just our town that's behind the times, it's our school system as well. Because I was talking to a first grade teacher in Newburyport and they compost. They switched to compostable trays, the kids sort their lunch stuff into the bins.
I know, so I got an email back from somebody at Bagnell who said they only pay for trash pickup and they recycle cardboard and they don't divert anything else at Bagnell.
Okay, so here's the thought, I don't know if there's like a little grant that Rebecca could find or something. But it was, the radio show they listen to keeps giving green tips now. And one of them was to put a small bin in your bathroom for recyclables.
Mhm.
Now, you want the toothpaste and razor blades and one, but another one would be, you know, cardboard and stuff in the bathroom. Because that doesn't make it to the recycling bin down in the kitchen usually.
Mhm.
What about a cute little,
I think that Black Earth is reaching out to Bagnell
are they?
because I gave her the contact
I
information. I don't,
reached
I
out to
haven't,
my school and I didn't
I
get
haven't
anywhere.
found out if anything is
Now I'm pushing-
transpired.
Yeah, I'm pushing through the environmental club at here now. trying to get some- It's a lot of money that they could save.
But are we getting sidetracked here?
Yep,
Yeah, composting. All right, so we are gonna deal with this next meeting.
and when is our next meeting?
Good point.
And did we approve the?
We haven't done
Look
the
at the
minutes
minutes
yet.
quickly, please. And I know Bill, you can read them.
Yeah.
So we have. This July, no, right?
Yep, those are the only ones you haven't approved.
Okay. Okay, so do you want to make a recommendation to approve the July 31st?
Motion to approve the minutes from July 31st.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Discussion, there being none, all in favor?
Aye.
One in favor, one abstention. And I need a motion for the minutes of August 27th.
Motion to move minutes from August 27th. We can't vote on it, but I sure can. vote on it.
You're good.
Second.
That's true.
Second.
Discussion, none, all in favor?
Perfect.
Good, okay, we
Thank you.
got up on
Done.
minutes. So this is gonna be on the next one and any hand scrawled notes on this, just go to town on it.
Okay,
And then at some point I'll try and mush it together.
okay,
And if I need to put in different comments in different colors, I will. And
Okay.
then we'll just, and I think we'll just keep going in circles if we don't start to,
yeah.
yeah.
That and
Maybe
Yeah.
we should have a subcommittee to make a list of all the ways that people can divert.
and in the meantime,
It's a
try
very-
not to let the
So what's
perfect
our date?
be the enemy of
Yes.
the good.
Well,
Because we're never gonna get perfect.
but we need to be
What are you talking about?
much better.
Don't let I'm saying, don't let perfect be the enemy of, you know,
I don't think anybody's doing that. We just want
Do you wanna shoot?
to
for
keep
Au-
moving forward.
Of October, the 29th. Give ourselves a month to kind of. Because then you really need to go through this thing from Rebecca. You need to get access to that folder.
29th,
Mhm.
Tuesday.
How can?
I don't know. I'll have to call her someday at work and
Here's
see
what
if
it
I
looks
can.
like On my computer.
Are we adjourned?
Yeah, well, let me make a motion to adjourn, please.
Is it the 20?
Motion to adjourn.
Is that good? Yes, 29, okay?
29th might be tough for me because of it's October and stuff.
Oh, man, it's how.
Red button.
That's not Halloween.